speaking to you about what I call the mesh. It's essentially a fundamental shift in our relationship with stuff, with the things in our lives. And it's starting to look at, not always and not for everything, but in certain moments of time, access to certain kinds of goods and service will trump ownership of them. And so it's the pursuit of better things easily shared. And we come from a long tradition of sharing. We've shared transportation, we've shared wine and food and other sorts of fabulous experiences in coffee bars in Amsterdam. We've also shared other sorts of entertainment, sports arenas, public parks, concert halls, libraries, universities. All these things are share platforms, but sharing ultimately starts and ends with what I refer to as the mother of all share platforms. And as I think about the mesh and I think about, well, what's driving it and how come it's happening now, I think there's a number of vectors that I want to give you as background. One is the recession, that the recession has caused us to rethink our relationship with the things in our lives relative to the value. So starting to align the value with the true cost. Secondly, population growth and density into cities, more people, smaller spaces, less stuff. Climate change. We're trying to reduce the stress in our personal lives, in our communities, and on the planet. Also, there's been this recent distrust of big brands, global big brands, in a bunch of different industries. And that's created a kind of opening. Research is showing here in the States and in Canada and Western Europe that most of us are much more open to local companies or brands that maybe we haven't heard of, whereas before, we went with sort of the big brands that we were sure we trusted. And last is that we're more connected now to more people on the planet than ever before, except for if you're sitting next to someone. The other thing that's worth considering is that we've made a huge investment over decades and decades, and tens of billions of dollars have gone into this investment that now is our inheritance. It's a physical infrastructure that allows us to get from point A to point B and move things that way. It's also web and mobile allow us to be connected and to create all kinds of platforms and systems. And the investment of those technologies and that infrastructure is really our inheritance. It allows us to engage in really new and interesting ways. And so for me, a mesh company, the classic mesh company, brings together these three things: our ability to connect to each other. Most of us are walking around with these mobile devices that are GPS enabled and web enabled, allows us to find each other and to find things in time and space. And third is that physical things are readable on a map, so restaurants, a variety of venues, but also with GPS and other technology like RFID, and it continues to expand beyond that, we can also track things that are moving, like a car, a taxi cab, a transit system, a box that's moving through time and space. And so that sets up for making access to goods and services more convenient and less costly in many cases than owning them. For example, I want to use Zipcar. How many people here have experienced car sharing or bike sharing? Wow, that's great. Okay, thank you. Basically, Zipcar is the largest